Good morning. My eyes are a little bit watery right now. I just had a sneezing episode, quite a few of them. Today we look at Proverbs 3 through 6. Tomorrow's reading is 6 and 7, and of course tomorrow Sunday morning we have worship at Mabel in Sutton, 9 o'clock, and at Our Savior's in McHenry at 10:30. And I'll be live at 9 o'clock, just the same as pretty much every day. And then we invite you to join us for worship. Chapter 3 through 6 talk about, paying attention to wisdom. And we talked a little bit about wisdom yesterday. But chapter 3 begins with, "My child, do not forget my teaching. Let your heart keep my commandments. So the length of days and years of life will give you abundant welfare." And that, if you go back and look at Deuteronomy 5, verse 16, it talks about, the length of your days, honoring God and mother and father that way. Verse 3, "Do not let loyalty and faithfulness forsake you." These are two important qualities of life, characters of life to have, loyalty and faithfulness. And then verses 5 and 6 of chapter 3, I remember one of the meetings I was at, or an interview, whatever, with the candidacy committee as I was going to become a pastor. I was asked what's one of your favorite Bible passages? And I said, well, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. I said, trust in the Lord with all your heart. And then one of the people said, well, what's the rest of it? So then I had, said it all. But it's trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he will guide your paths. And so it's, to have your trust placed in God is such an important thing. Rather than to, trust in man, or, it's like, Psalm 118:8, that was kind of that too, to trust in the Lord. Don't put your trust and faith in humankind that way. Verse 7, "Do not be wise in your own eyes." Don't think you know it all in so many ways that way. In verse 15, it talks about wisdom. "Wisdom is more precious than jewels. Nothing you can desire can compare to her. Long life is her right hand, and in her left hand are riches and honor. Her ways are pleasantness, and her paths are peace. She's a tree of life." And so, wisdom, knowing the difference between good and evil, knowing the difference between what you should say and what you shouldn't say, and maybe what you do say and don't say. There's so many different things that way. Of wisdom brings, wealth and security, and part of that loyalty and faithfulness that was mentioned in one of the earlier verses here. Excuse me just a second. And then verse 28, 29, "Do not say to your neighbor, 'Go, come again tomorrow, I'll give it to you,' when you have it now." If you've got the means to help somebody right now, don't tell them, "Well, come back tomorrow." You got the means to help, do it. And then verse 29, "Do not plan harm against your neighbor who lives trustingly beside you." Why do you want to stir up trouble? Why do you want to tell lies? Why do you want to gossip? Why do you want to, stir up trouble with your neighbor? Live together in peace and harmony. The last verse of chapter 3, "The wise will inherit honor, but stubborn fools disgrace." And again, it's a part of that wisdom. And wisdom just doesn't mean book sense. This isn't what it's talking about at all. It isn't knowing all kinds of facts and everything, but that's a part of wisdom. But wisdom is knowing how to live, knowing how to treat others, knowing that, you're better off to have a community surrounding and supporting you than to be a hermit somewhere off all alone. But wisdom is developing a way of life that you enhance others and you are enhanced by others as well that way. Chapter 4 begins, "Listen, children, to a father's instruction." And again, it's, reminding reminding us that our parents, our elders, our teachers are worthy to listen to and to learn and to know. Verse 3 says, when I was a son with my father, tender with my mother's favorite, he taught me and he said to me, let your words hold fast to my wisdom. And so, Solomon, if he could be talking about his father, King David, but he learned. In verse 7, chapter 4, the beginning of wisdom is this, get wisdom, and whatever else you get insight. Prize her highly, and so put an emphasis on this wisdom. And it's, it's just to have a wealth of knowledge. And again, as I said, not just book knowledge, but knowledge of how to live and how to treat others as well, and all of those things. The last verse, chapter 4, do not swerve to the right or to the left. Turn your foot away from evil. It's to walk the straight and narrow path, and with all of your decisions and everything. Chapter 5 begins again. My children, my child, be attentive to my wisdom. Incline your ear to my understanding. And then it goes on, and he's talking about relationships here. And verse 4 says, from the lips of a loose woman drip honey in her. This isn't just talking about women. This is talking about all kinds of people that can be that way. So the warning here is to be wary, be on guard that other people will tempt you. Other people could lead you astray, and that you need to be aware of who you are and what needs you have in your life, and to have the ability to be faithful in your promises. And in some ways, this chapter is dealing with a woman and a husband, husband and wife, and talking about fidelity. She doesn't keep paths are straight, and then, listen to the words of my mouth. Keep far away from her. Keep, these temptations. And so this isn't talking about just a loose woman. I don't like that term, but it's talking about temptations that take us away from our good relationships in our lives. And verse 16, let your fountain be blessed and rejoice in the wife of your youth. Be faithful, and this is what it goes on. Why should you be intoxicated by another woman? And then verse 21, a good reminder, for human ways are under the eyes of the Lord, and he examines their paths. The iniquities of the wicked ensnare them, and so again, it's that, honor your promises, be loyal, be faithful, and not only in your relationships with friends and family, but especially within your married life, especially to your spouse. And, and to just to know that there are snares, that there are traps that are set. Chapter 6 is part of tomorrow's reading, and we'll look at it quickly. Starts, my child, if you've given your pledge to your neighbor, if you have bound yourself to another, you are snared by the utterance of your lips. Snared, you're caught. Honor your word. And this is sometimes, kind of, I don't know, I shouldn't say it's difficult to honor your word, but it's sometimes we're tempted to go back on it. But if you say you're going to do something, do it. It's like Jesus asking, the father asked his older one son to go out into the vineyard, and he said, I'll go, but he didn't. And he asked the other son to go, and he said, I'm not gonna, but he did, and which one did the will of the Father? Which one, followed through with the pledge to the neighbor that way. Verse 20, my child, keep your father's commandments, do not forsake your mother's teaching. Again, a reminder to, listen to your parents. We've all heard that. Listen to your mom, listen to your dad, listen to your parents, listen to your elders. Pay attention to those who are your teachers. And above all, this is where you'll gather your wisdom and understanding. that helps us to be able to lead lives that are loyal and faithful, and to have a character of faithfulness. You know, some people have a good reputation, some people don't have such a good reputation. But to follow the wisdom of our elders, to know and to trust God, and that verses 5 and 6 of chapter 3, that trust in the Lord with all your heart. Don't rely on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will guide your paths. Tremendous words of good guidance for everyday living.